The scissors felt cold in my hand as I watched Emma parade down the stairs in my vintage Levi's, the ones I'd saved 3 months of allowance to buy, the ones with the perfect fade, the ones she swore she'd never touched. But that wasn't what made me smile. What made me smile was knowing that in exactly 48 hours, she wouldn't have a single designer piece left in her overflowing closet, and I would be standing in a penthouse suite wearing couture she couldn't even pronounce. Because I'd done this before. I'd lived this day before. And last time, I'd cried. This time, I was going to laugh all the way to Milan. The first time I lived through my 18th birthday, I didn't make it to 19. Let me take you back 6 years, to when I was 12 and Emma was 14, and our mother decided that one daughter was worth investing in and the other was just there. I don't know exactly when Mom made that choice. Maybe it was when Emma won that junior modeling competition. Maybe it was earlier when she was born with Dad's green eyes instead of my muddy brown ones. Maybe it was always that way, and I was too young to notice. By the time I was 12, the pattern was clear. Emma got new clothes every season. I got her hand-me-downs. Emma got modeling classes and portfolio shoots. I got told to be realistic about my future. Emma got a credit card for emergencies. I got $5 a week allowance if I did all the chores. And, I mean, all of them, Emma's too. Mom ran a successful interior design firm, and Dad was a corporate lawyer. We weren't just comfortable, we were wealthy. The house in Westchester had 7 bedrooms. There was money for everything Emma wanted and convenient scarcity for everything I needed. "You're the eldest," Mom would say, her voice dripping with fake sweetness. "You should be more mature, more understanding. Emma has opportunities you didn't have. Don't be selfish." Selfish. That was her favorite word for me. I wanted to take an art class? Selfish. That money should go to Emma's headshots. I needed new shoes because mine had holes? Selfish. Emma needed designer boots for an audition. I asked why I couldn't have a birthday party when Emma got one every year. Selfish, selfish, selfish. Dad never intervened. He'd hide behind his newspaper or his laptop, occasionally grunting, "Listen to your mother," before retreating to his study. He was there but never present, a ghost in expensive suits who signed checks and nothing else. The worst part wasn't the neglect. It was watching Emma become more like Mom every day, entitled, cruel, casual in her cruelty because she'd never faced a consequence in her life. She'd steal my things and wear them in front of me, laughing when I protested. "What? You weren't using it." She'd eat food I'd saved, delete recordings of my favorite shows, borrow money from my drawer and never return it. Once, she threw my sketchbook in the pool because I wouldn't let her copy my homework. Years of drawings gone. Mom made me apologize to Emma for making her feel bad about it. I learned to hide things. I learned to make myself small. I learned that love in my family was a finite resource and Emma had claimed it all. But I was smart. I got good grades, not that anyone noticed. I taught myself to code, spending hours in the library because Emma commandeered my laptop whenever she wanted. I saved every dollar I could, hiding cash in a tampon box I knew Emma would never touch. I dreamed of college, of escape, of a life where I mattered. Then came the college application year. I'd worked so hard. I had a 4.0 GPA, perfect SAT scores, a portfolio of websites I'd built for local businesses. I applied to MIT Early Decision. It was my dream school, my ticket out. I poured everything into that application. My hopes, my escape plan, my future. Emma, meanwhile, barely maintained a 3.0. But she wanted to go to Columbia because her modeling agent said New York was where careers were made. She didn't care about education. She just wanted the prestige and the parties. I got into MIT with a partial scholarship. I needed about $15,000 a year in additional support for what the scholarship didn't cover. Dad could have written that check without blinking. Emma got waitlisted at Columbia. She had a tantrum that lasted 3 days. 1 week later, Mom sat me down at the kitchen table. Emma stood behind her, arms crossed, smirking. "We've decided Emma needs a gap year in Paris," Mom said, to develop her portfolio. "The program costs $45,000. My stomach dropped. "What about MIT?" "You'll go to community college," Mom said, as if it were obvious. "It's more financially responsible. You can transfer later." Later, my voice cracked. MIT was early decision. I committed. I can't defer. You'll figure it out, Mom interrupted. Don't be dramatic. Emma's window of opportunity is now. Modeling careers are short. You have time for education. I looked at Dad. He wouldn't meet my eyes. Please, I whispered. I worked so hard. You have the money, please. Emma laughed. Actually laughed. God, you're so embarrassing. It's not all about you. Something broke in me that day, but I still tried. I deferred MIT for a year, promising them I'd come. I worked 3 jobs while going to community college part-time. I saved every penny. I was going to make it work without them. Then I turned 18, and Emma decided she wanted my college fund. Yes, I had a college fund. Grandma, Dad's mom, had set one up when I was born. $20,000 locked until I turned 18. It was the only thing that was truly mine, that Mom couldn't touch or redirect to Emma. Emma didn't have one because Grandma had died before Emma was born. And Emma couldn't stand that I had something she didn't. 2 weeks after my birthday, after I'd legally gained access to the account, Mom called a family meeting. We need that money for Emma's career, she announced. No. The word felt foreign in my mouth. I never said no. That's mine. Grandma left it for my education. You're being selfish, Mom said, her voice sharp. Family helps family. Emma's about to sign with a major agency, but she needs professional photos, a better portfolio. This is a real opportunity, not some fantasy about MIT. I got into MIT, and you deferred it, Emma said sweetly. So you're obviously not going. Stop being a bitch and help your sister. I refused. It was the first time I'd ever stood my ground, and it felt terrifying and exhilarating. They made my life hell. Mom canceled my phone plan. Dad forgot to make dinner when I was home. Emma started a rumor at my community college that I was a thief. They locked me out of the house twice, forcing me to sleep in my car, the beat-up Honda Civic I'd bought myself. But I held firm. That money was mine. MIT had agreed to let me start in January instead of the fall. I was so close. Then came the day that ended my first life. Emma had a huge modeling showcase, the kind where agencies and brands send scouts. Mom had spent weeks preparing her, thousands of dollars on the perfect wardrobe. I wasn't invited, obviously, but I had to drive Emma to the venue because Mom wanted to arrive separately to network. Emma was wearing my jeans in the car, the vintage Levi's I mentioned. I'd bought them from a thrift store, my one perfect find, broken in and perfect. She'd taken them from my room that morning. Those are mine, I said quietly. God, you're still whining about clothes? Grow up. She was doing her makeup in the visor mirror, not even looking at me. Something in me snapped. Give them back tonight. I'm serious, Emma. She turned to me and her face was pure contempt. Or what? You'll tell Mommy? She doesn't care about you. Dad doesn't care about you. Nobody cares about you. You're like this annoying ghost that just won't leave. Honestly, we'd all be happier if you just disappeared. Her words were still echoing in my head when the truck ran the red light. I remember the impact, the spinning, Emma's screaming, then nothing. I woke up in the hospital 3 days later. Broken ribs, fractured leg, concussion. Emma had minor bruises. The truck driver's insurance would cover the medical bills, the doctor said. I'd be okay. Except I wasn't okay. The bills were enormous. My insurance, which I'd been paying for myself, covered most but not all. I needed physical therapy. I couldn't work for months. My college fund, my precious $20,000, evaporated into medical bills and living expenses. Emma's showcase had been rescheduled. She went 2 weeks after the accident wearing a different outfit. She didn't thank me for driving her. She never even asked how I was. Mom told me I needed to move out. I was 18 after all, an adult, time to be independent. Dad helped me pack, his silence louder than any words. I moved into a studio apartment in the worst part of town. I worked when I could, barely making rent. MIT sent concerned emails, then disappointed ones, then nothing. My dream died quietly, drowned in medical bills and family betrayal. I spiraled. depression, anxiety, insomnia. I couldn't afford therapy. I couldn't afford much of anything. 6 months after the accident, I got an email. Emma had signed with a major agency. She was moving to New York. Mom was going with her to manage her career. They were selling the house, downsizing to fund Emma's dreams. Maybe you can visit sometime, Mom's text said, when you get your life together. I never got my life together. Not in that life. I died on a Tuesday, 3 weeks before what would have been my 19th birthday. The carbon monoxide detector in my shitty apartment had broken weeks before, and I couldn't afford to replace it. I went to sleep and didn't wake up. My last thought was wondering if Emma would wear something of mine to my funeral. Then I woke up. I was 12 years old, in my childhood bedroom, and Emma was banging on my door. Mom says it's your turn to do the dishes. I lay there, gasping, my mind reeling. I touched my face, smooth, young. My hands, no scars from the accident. I scrambled to my phone. The date was 6 years in the past. I had done it. I don't know how, I don't know why, but I had been given the gift that only exists in stories and desperate prayers. I had been reborn with all my memories intact, and this time, I was going to rewrite every single page. The first year I observed, I couldn't risk changing too much too fast. But I took notes, mental and physical. I documented every cruelty, every theft, every moment of neglect. I started a secret email account and sent myself evidence. Photos of my things in Emma's room, recordings of Mom's favoritism. I built a case, slowly and carefully. I also started building my future differently. I already knew what trends were coming, what apps would blow up, what stocks would rise. At 12, I couldn't invest directly, but I could prepare. I learned everything I could about business, about law, about money. I worked on my coding skills with the knowledge of where technology was headed. And I made one phone call that changed everything. I called Grandma. She'd died of a heart attack in my first life, sudden and unexpected. But I knew the date, June 15th, 2 years from this point. And I knew she'd never really known what was happening to me because I'd been too ashamed to tell her. This time I told her everything. In careful, measured conversations during her weekly calls, how Emma got everything, how Mom treated me like a servant, how Dad was absent, how lonely I was. Grandma was horrified. She started visiting more, seeing it herself, and she started planning. She couldn't change Mom and Dad. They were adults, set in their ways. But she could protect me. She increased my college fund significantly. She set up a trust that would mature when I turned 18, one that Mom and Dad couldn't touch, didn't even know about. She taught me about money, about investing, about protecting myself. And then, 8 months before she died, she introduced me to someone who would change everything. Her estate lawyer, Marcus Chen, was a sharp, ambitious man in his 30s who specialized in family law and asset protection. Grandma had asked him to ensure I'd be taken care of after she was gone. During one of our meetings, I took a risk. "Mr. Chen," I said, "what would you say if I told you I could predict certain business trends with unusual accuracy?" He'd laughed, thinking I was joking. So, I told him about a small tech startup called InstaStore that would be worth billions in 4 years. I told him to invest everything he could in it. I gave him specific details about their patent that hadn't been filed yet, but I knew would be. He was skeptical but intrigued. "And if I did this, what would you want in return?" 10% of your profits and your services as my lawyer when I need them, which I will, soon. He agreed, probably just humoring a weird 14-year-old, but he bought a small position in InstaStore just to see. When they went public 3 years later, his small investment was worth $2.3 million. He called me the day after the IPO, his voice shaking. "How did you know?" "I can't explain it," I said. "But I know other things too, and I'm going to need your help." Marcus became my secret weapon. With his legal expertise and my foreknowledge, we started building my empire. Small investments placed carefully. I couldn't do much as a minor, but he could act on my behalf through the trust Grandma had set up. By the time I was 16, that trust was worth over $5 million, and nobody in my family knew. Grandma died right on schedule. I mourned her genuinely this time, but at least I'd gotten to know her, really know her. She'd seen me, she'd loved me, and she'd given me the tools for revenge. The funeral was where the seeds of the final plan really took root. Emma, 16 and beautiful, spent the entire service on her phone, bored. Mom networked with distant relatives, barely crying. Dad looked uncomfortable, eager to leave. I stood by Grandma's casket, tears streaming down my face, and I made her a promise. I would win. I would succeed. And I would make sure Emma and Mom saw it happen. The next 2 years, I played my part perfectly. The overlooked daughter, the good student, the invisible one. I let Emma steal my things. I let Mom dismiss me. I let Dad ignore me. But underneath, I was a shark in still water. I got into MIT again, early decision. This time, I had a full scholarship. I'd made sure of it by strategically winning several coding competitions that I knew about from my first life. I also had enough money in my trust to pay for a penthouse apartment in Cambridge and a new car. Emma, right on schedule, got waitlisted at Columbia. Her tantrum was exactly as I remembered. And Mom, predictable as clockwork, tried to take my college money. We need to talk about your college fund, Mom said. The same conversation, the same kitchen table. This time I smiled. You mean the one Grandma left me? The trust? Yes, we think... No. Mom blinked. Excuse me? No, you can't have it. You won't have it. It's in a trust that matures when I turn 18 and it's legally protected. Mr. Chen made sure of that. I pulled out a folder and slid it across the table. This is a copy of the trust documents. You'll see that any attempt to access, contest, or interfere with the trust will result in immediate legal action and potential criminal charges for attempted financial exploitation of a minor. Mom's face went white, then red. You ungrateful... Careful, I said softly. Because this folder also contains documentation of 6 years of financial neglect and emotional abuse. Time-stamped photos, recordings, emails. Everything needed for an emancipation case, if necessary. Or a civil suit. I haven't decided yet. Dad finally looked up from his laptop. You're bluffing. Am I? I opened my phone and played a recording. Mom's voice, crystal clear. Emma deserves everything. That's why God made her beautiful and made you adequate. Some people are meant to shine and some are meant to support them. It was from 2 months ago. She'd said it to her sister on the phone, not knowing I'd hidden a recorder in the kitchen. The silence was delicious. Here's what's going to happen, I said, standing up. I'm going to MIT in the fall. I'm going to live my life, and you're going to leave me alone. In return, I won't pursue legal action for the neglect and emotional abuse. Consider it a generous trade. Emma, who'd been watching with growing horror, finally spoke. You can't just... I can. I did. And Emma? I turned to her and I let her see the steel in my eyes. Those jeans you're wearing? The vintage Levi's you took from my room this morning? They're the last thing of mine you'll ever touch. She looked down at the jeans, confused. Because I'm donating my entire wardrobe. Tonight. Everything in my closet, my drawers, my bathroom. Every piece of clothing, every accessory, every item you've ever wanted. It's all going to Goodwill. What? Emma shrieked. You're insane. Some of that stuff is expensive. It's mine to give away, I said calmly. And I'd rather it go to someone who needs it than someone who just takes. I walked upstairs, called a donation service I'd already arranged, and spent the next 3 hours boxing up everything. Emma followed me, screaming, threatening, crying. Mom yelled. Dad tried to reason. I ignored them all. The donation truck came at 8 p.m. They took 20 boxes. Emma watched from her window, devastated, as her treasure trove of stealing opportunities drove away. I slept that night in a sleeping bag, wearing sweats I'd hidden in the garage, in a completely empty room. It was the best sleep I'd had in 2 lifetimes. But that was just the opening move. The real game began the summer before college. I was 18 now, my trust had matured, and I had access to nearly $8 million in carefully invested assets. Marcus had done brilliant work, and my predictions had been perfect. Emma's modeling career, meanwhile, was sputtering. She'd gotten a few small jobs, but Without Mom's financial support, which had dried up considerably after I'd made it clear I wouldn't be the family cash cow, she was struggling. She wasn't booking the big campaigns. Her Instagram following, which she obsessed over, had stalled at 50,000 followers. Mom blamed me for this somehow, as if my refusal to be exploited had caused Emma's mediocrity to show. The week before I left for MIT, Emma made her fatal mistake. She'd planned it, I think, as some kind of revenge. A final blow before I escaped. She hacked into my laptop, the new one I'd bought myself, and found what she thought was my personal journal. It was actually a creative writing project, fiction, but Emma didn't care about context. She found entries about my feelings, my loneliness, my pain, raw emotional stuff that I'd written as therapy. She posted excerpts on her Instagram, tagging me, mocking me. My sad sister's diary. She thinks she's going to MIT, but she's just a depressed loser who can't handle reality. Delusional, embarrassing family. Her followers ate it up. The post went viral in our local community. I got messages, some sympathetic, most mocking. It was designed to humiliate me right before I started my new life. Emma was smiling when I came home that day. "Oops," she said, "my finger slipped." Mom didn't even pretend to care. Maybe you shouldn't write such dramatic things if you don't want them seen. Dad was on a business trip. Convenient, as always. I looked at Emma at her triumphant face and I smiled back. "Thank you," I said. She blinked. "What?" "Thank you for making this easy." I went to my empty room, picked up my phone, and called Marcus. "It's time," I said. "You're sure?" he asked. "I'm sure." Execute the plan. What Emma didn't know, what none of them knew, was that I'd been preparing for this. I knew Emma. I'd lived with her cruelty twice. I knew she'd do something like this, try to sabotage me one last time. So I'd set a trap, and she'd walked right into it. The laptop she'd hacked, the journal she'd found, I'd left it for her. The password was intentionally weak. The files were placed exactly where a casual search would find them. But that wasn't the real revenge. The real revenge was what I'd installed on that laptop months ago. Sophisticated monitoring software that tracked every keystroke, every file access, every website visited. Emma had used that laptop extensively after stealing it from my room. She'd logged into her email, her social media accounts, her bank accounts. She'd drafted posts, saved passwords, and never once suspected she was being recorded. And in her emails, I'd found something beautiful, evidence of fraud. Emma had been accepting payment for sponsored posts without disclosing it, a violation of FTC regulations. She'd been lying to brands about her follower count, using bot services to inflate her numbers. She'd even stolen content from smaller creators and posted it as her own. All documented, all time-stamped, all illegal. Marcus had compiled everything into a comprehensive file. We'd sent it to the FTC, to the brands she'd defrauded, and to a journalist at a major fashion publication who was known for exposés on influencer fraud. The story broke 3 days before I left for MIT. Instagram influencer Emma Morrison exposed fraud, theft, and deception. It was everywhere. Fashion blogs, Twitter, Instagram itself, screenshots of her fake follower purchases, proof of undisclosed sponsorships, evidence of stolen content. The article was damning, detailed, and went viral. Emma's Instagram was deleted within hours, either by her or the platform, I never found out which. Brands issued statements dropping her. The modeling agency that had been courting her sent a formal rejection letter. Her phone rang constantly with angry messages. Her friends abandoned her. Her entire carefully constructed image crumbled in less than 72 hours. Mom tried to contain the damage, but it was too late. The internet doesn't forget, and Emma had become a cautionary tale. I left for MIT while Emma was locked in her room, sobbing. I wish I could say I felt bad. I didn't, not even a little. College was everything I'd dreamed of. MIT was challenging, stimulating, and full of people who saw me, really saw me. I thrived. My coding skills, enhanced by my foreknowledge of technological trends, made me a standout student. Professors took notice. Companies reached out. But I wasn't done with my family yet. The final act was still to come. In my first life, Mom and Dad had sold the house to fund Emma's failed career. This time, with Emma's career dead, they were struggling. Dad's law firm had taken a hit during a recession I knew was coming, and Mom's interior design business was suffering. They'd overextended themselves financially, banking on Emma's success. They called me twice. Once at Thanksgiving, once at Christmas, both times asking for money. "We're family," Mom said. "You have to help us." The irony was suffocating. I said no, both times. By spring semester, they were facing foreclosure on the house. My childhood home, the 7-bedroom monument to their success, was going to be seized by the bank. That's when I made my move. I bought the house. Not through them, they never would have sold to me. But through a shell corporation Marcus had set up, I bought it from the bank in a pre-foreclosure sale. For less than half what they'd paid for it because the market had tanked and they'd missed too many payments. They had, 30 days to vacate. Mom called me, hysterical. "Some corporation bought our house. They're evicting us. You have to help us. You have to—" "I can't help you," I said calmly. "I'm just a college student. I barely have enough for my own expenses." I was lying, of course. By then, my net worth was approaching $15 million thanks to carefully placed investments in companies I knew would boom. But we're your parents." Dad's voice, the first time he'd spoken to me in months. "Are you?" I asked. Because parents support their children. Parents love their children. Parents don't steal from them, neglect them, or let them be abused by a sibling. What you are is DNA donors who made my childhood a nightmare. And now, that's all you'll ever be. I hung up. They moved into a 2-bedroom apartment in a mediocre part of town. Emma, who'd been living at home because no one would hire her after the scandal, had to get a job at a retail store. Mom's business folded. Dad switched to a smaller firm for less money. Their entire world, the one they'd built on the assumption that Emma was the golden child and I was nothing, collapsed. And I watched from my dorm room eating pizza, feeling nothing but satisfaction. Sophomore year, I made my first million from a startup I'd founded. A platform that connected freelance coders with small businesses built on algorithms I'd perfected by knowing exactly what the market would need. It was acquired by a major tech company for $3.2 million in stock and cash. The acquisition made regional news. MIT sophomore sells startup for millions. My face was in the article. My name was everywhere. Mom's sister, the aunt I'd recorded her talking to, sent me a Facebook message. "Your mother says you've done well for yourself. She's very proud." I blocked her. Emma apparently saw the article. She created a new Instagram account and sent me a DM. "Hey, sis, congrats on the success. Listen, I know we've had our differences, but family is family, right? I've been working on rebuilding my career and I could really use some investment capital. Just like $50K to start. I'll pay you back, promise." I screenshotted it and sent it to Marcus. We both laughed. I didn't respond to Emma, but I did send her something, a box. Inside was a pair of jeans, vintage Levi's, identical to the ones she'd been wearing in the car during the accident in my first life. The ones she'd stolen and worn while telling me nobody cared if I disappeared. With a note, "You wore my favorite jeans. After Rebirth, I gave away my entire wardrobe. But I kept these. To remember, to remind myself why I won. Enjoy them. They're the only thing you'll ever get from me again." I don't know if she wore them. I don't care. Junior year, everything accelerated. My investments were paying off spectacularly. I'd bought early positions in cryptocurrency that I knew would explode. I'd invested in pharmaceutical companies right before their breakthrough. Drugs got FDA approval. I'd shorted companies I knew would collapse. Marcus kept telling me I was either the luckiest person alive or psychic. I never confirmed or denied. By the time I graduated MIT, summa cum laude, degree in computer science with a minor in business, I was worth $47 million. I was 22 years old. The graduation ceremony was intimate, prestigious. Mom, Dad, and Emma were not invited. They didn't even know about it until they saw photos on MIT's website. Mom sent an email. "How could you not tell us? We're your family. We deserved to be there." I replied with a single line. You were never there for anything that mattered to me. Why would I want you there for this? The final chapter of my revenge came when I was 24. I'd taken my fortune and built it into an empire. I founded a venture capital firm that specialized in funding female-led tech startups. I became known in Silicon Valley circles as the prodigy VC. Young, brilliant, impossibly successful. Forbes did a profile on me. The millennial who saw the future. If only they knew. Emma, meanwhile, had tried to rebuild her influencer career. She'd apologized publicly, claimed she'd learned and grown, tried to rebrand as a wellness advocate. She got up to 20,000 followers on a new account. Then she made a mistake. She posted a photo of herself in designer clothes she clearly couldn't afford, claiming they were gifts from brands. But they weren't. She'd bought them with a credit card she'd maxed out, desperate to project success she didn't have. One of my assistants, who monitored social media for potential investments, flagged it. This girl is committing credit card fraud, she told me, showing me Emma's posts and her mounting debt records, legally obtained through background checks we ran on potential fraud cases. I looked at Emma's face on the screen. Still beautiful, but there was something desperate in her eyes now, something broken. Leave it, I said. Let her dig her own grave. But Emma's grave got deeper in a way I hadn't predicted. She got engaged to a guy named Tyler, an entrepreneur who was actually running a pyramid scheme. I found this out through my network. I made a point of knowing what happened in my family's lives, even though I never spoke to them. Mom was ecstatic. Finally, something good, she'd apparently told a neighbor who mentioned it to someone, who mentioned it to someone who mentioned it to me. Small world. The wedding was planned for a venue they couldn't afford. Emma posted about it constantly, trying to get brand sponsorships. No legitimate companies would touch her after the scandal, but some sketchy startups offered deals. I watched it all spiral with detached interest. This wasn't my revenge anymore. This was just Emma being Emma and finally facing consequences. Then Tyler's scheme collapsed. Federal investigation, fraud charges, the works. The wedding was canceled. Emma was implicated, not as a conspirator, but as someone who'd promoted his business to her followers, taking payments she hadn't disclosed. Another scandal. More legal trouble, more public humiliation. Mom called me. Actually called for the first time in years. Please, she said, and her voice was old, tired. Please help your sister. She's going to jail. She needs a lawyer, a good one. You have money now. You can afford it. Can I? I said. Don't be cruel. She's your sister. Family helps family. You said that before, I replied. When you wanted to steal my college fund, when you let her torment me for years. When you chose her over me every single day of my childhood. Family helps family, you said. But you never helped me. Why should I help you? Because you're better than us, Mom said, and she was crying now. Please, I know we failed you. I know we were terrible parents, but please don't let Emma go to prison. She's made mistakes, but she doesn't deserve this. Doesn't she? I asked. She built a career on fraud and theft. She's facing consequences. That's not cruelty, that's justice. You've become so cold, Mom whispered. You made me this way, I said. You took a child who loved you and needed you, and you neglected her, diminished her, and let her be abused. You're surprised she doesn't care about you now? You're surprised she's cold? You should be grateful I'm not worse. I hung up. Emma went to trial. She took a plea deal, 2 years probation, community service, restitution payments. No jail time, but a criminal record. Her influencer dreams were dead forever. Dad had a heart attack around this time. Stress, the doctor said. He survived, but it aged him. He sent me a letter. Actual snail mail, handwritten. I'm sorry, it said. I was a coward. I let your mother run everything. I should have protected you. I don't expect forgiveness. But I want you to know I'm proud of you and I'm sorry. I kept the letter. I don't know why. Maybe because it was the first time he'd ever really acknowledged me. I didn't respond. I'm 26 now. I live in a penthouse in Manhattan with a view of Central Park. My net worth is somewhere north of $200 million, though honestly, I've stopped counting. My venture capital firm has funded 47 companies, and 12 have already been acquired or gone public. I'm on the board of 3 major tech companies. Forbes just named me to their 30 under 30 list. I wear custom-made clothes from designers in Milan, Paris, and Tokyo. I have a closet that's bigger than the bedroom I grew up in. I have more pairs of jeans than I can count. Vintage, designer, custom. I've never worn the same outfit twice in public. Emma works at a Target in New Jersey. She lives in a studio apartment with 2 roommates. She's 30 years old and broke. Her Instagram account has 3,000 followers, mostly bots and people who remember the scandal. Mom's interior design business never recovered. She works as an assistant at someone else's firm now for a fraction of what she used to make. She's 62 and can't afford to retire. Dad retired early, forced out by health problems and declining relevance. He lives on a modest pension. They sold the apartment and moved somewhere smaller. I could help them. The money would be nothing to me. I could write a check that would solve all their problems and not even notice the missing amount. I won't, not because I'm cruel, though I'm sure they think I am, but because they need to understand what they did. They need to live with the consequences of their choices. They chose Emma over me. They chose cruelty over kindness. They chose greed over love. Now they live with that choice. Last week I was in Paris for Fashion Week, front row at Chanel because I'm an investor in several luxury brands now. A model walked past, and for a second I thought of Emma. She'd wanted this life so badly, she'd destroyed me trying to get it. And I had it without even trying. After the show, I met with a designer who wants to create a line of sustainable, affordable fashion for women in tech. She's brilliant, passionate, and reminds me of who I used to be, full of dreams and hope. I'm funding her company, $5 million to start. She cried when I told her. "You're changing my life," she said. "That's what the money is for," I replied. "To change lives, to give opportunities to people who deserve them. Unlike Emma, unlike Mom, unlike the family that saw my potential and buried it because it threatened their golden child." I fly back to New York tomorrow. I have meetings, investments to oversee, a future to build. My future, the one I was denied in my first life. Sometimes late at night, I think about Emma in that car telling me I should disappear. I think about dying alone in that apartment, poor and forgotten. I think about the life I should have had, the one they stole. And then I look around at my penthouse, at my success, at the empire I've built, and I smile. I didn't disappear. I became inevitable. Emma wore my favorite jeans once, thinking she could take whatever she wanted from me. After Rebirth, I gave away my entire wardrobe because I didn't need those clothes anymore. I didn't need any reminders of who I used to be. I bought myself a whole new closet, a whole new life, a whole new world, and Emma? Emma gets to watch from the sidelines, wearing her Target uniform, and know that everything she wanted, everything she tried to steal, everything she destroyed me to obtain, I have it all, and she'll never touch it. That's not cruelty, that's not coldness. That's justice, that's victory, that's revenge. This morning, I got an email from Emma using an address I didn't know she had. Subject line, "Please read." I almost deleted it, but curiosity won. "Dear Anna, I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't even expect you to read this. But I need to say it anyway. You were right about everything. I was a terrible sister. Mom was a terrible mother. We used you, abused you, and threw you away. And when you succeeded despite us, we had the nerve to be angry about it. I'm not writing to ask for money. I know I have no right to that. I'm writing because I need you to know I understand now what we did to you. I understand the pain we caused, and I'm sorry. I see your face sometimes in magazines or online. You're always smiling. You look happy. I'm glad. You deserve happiness. You always did. I don't deserve your forgiveness. I just wanted you to know that I finally understand what we took from you. And if I could go back and change it, I would. But I can't. So all I can do is say, I'm sorry. And I hope wherever you are, whatever you're doing, that you're everything you dreamed of being. Your sister, Emma, I read it 3 times, then I deleted it. Maybe in another life, that apology would have mattered. Maybe in a timeline where I hadn't died alone and unloved, where I hadn't been given a second chance to see exactly how little they valued me, I would have forgiven her. But this isn't that timeline. In this life, I know exactly who they are. I know what they're capable of. I know that their love was always conditional, always transactional, always about what I could give them. Emma's sorry now because she lost. She's sorry because she's facing consequences. She's sorry because she sees what I've become and knows she could have had a piece of it if she'd just been a decent person. She's not sorry for hurting me. She's sorry she got caught. She's sorry she's paying the price. That's not the kind of sorry that earns forgiveness. I close my laptop and look out at Manhattan, glittering in the afternoon sun. I have a dinner tonight with a duchess who wants to invest in tech. Tomorrow, I'm flying to Tokyo for meetings with Sony. Next week, I'm speaking at a conference about women in venture capital. My life is full, my calendar is packed, my future is bright. And Emma? Emma has Target, a studio apartment, and regrets. I don't feel bad about that. I don't feel guilty. I feel free. Because revenge isn't about making them suffer. Revenge is about making them irrelevant. And Emma, mom, dad, they're all irrelevant now. They're ghosts of a past life, and I'm living in my future. A future where I'm not the overlooked daughter, the stolen from sister, the disposable child. I'm Anna Morrison, venture capitalist, entrepreneur, philanthropist, success story, and I built it all from the ashes of the life they tried to take from me. That's the best revenge of all, not their suffering, though I won't pretend I don't enjoy it, but my happiness, my success, my absolute undeniable triumph. I wore rags in my first life and died in poverty. In this life, I wear Chanel and live in luxury. Emma wore my favorite jeans once, thinking she could take my identity along with my clothes. After Rebirth, I gave away my entire wardrobe because I didn't need those clothes anymore. I needed a crown, and I'm wearing it now. Game over. I won, and winning never felt so good.